Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Owens, and I'm a programmer with Palm Springs International ShortFest. And it's my great pleasure to be able to have a chat with the team behind If Anything Happens, I Love You. We have the writer-directors, Michael Govier and Will McCormack, and producer Maryann Garger. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello.
Buddy.
Well, first off, a big congrats to you. Your film was part of our 2020 film festival, is now on Netflix and made the Oscar shortlist. So just big kudos to you for that. And to start our conversation, I just wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about the process of writing the film. It's so like emotionally potent and unobstructed. And I just wanted to know, was there a scene or an image that served as a seed for the film?
Definitely, yeah. Michael and I, we're both writers, and we would meet and just pitch each other ideas that were interesting to us, and stories that we wanted to wrestle with. And I think we were both interested in writing about grief and sort of wrestling with some of the loss in our own lives. And Michael had this beautiful image that he pitched to me, which was really the genesis of the entire project, where he pitched these shadow souls that were disconnected from their human hosts because the humans were in so much agony that they couldn't reach their shadow souls. And I thought, wow, that's like a really sort of beautiful, simple, clear, elegant distillation of what grief feels like. And that was really the genesis of the project. It was this sort of Jungian idea of these souls that were disconnected from their bodies. And I could see the whole story in just one image. And then, of course, we kept reading about the tragic, recursive gun violence that happens over and over and over again in the United States of America. And we sort of merged those two ideas. And that was really the provenance of the story idea.
And I think elegant is such a great word to describe, I think, the style of the film, all of the elements of the film, which I think come together so beautifully. Can you talk a little bit about how you formed the team, like, your animator, your composer, Maryann, how you became part of the project?
Yeah, we were really lucky. So Will's agent, Kia at UTA, he helped set us up and introduced us to Maryann. And that was kind of like the great blessing of the project, because we needed someone with such veteran skills in animation. So she was able to kind of like help us and build it out from there. And then we were able to connect with Maya Burnett at Cal Arts. And then we started to get all of these recent Cal Arts grads. We asked Maya, like, who are your top people? We want to get some, wonderful new talent, because we also wanted to develop new talent, just like all of us. This is our first for a lot of us. This is the first for Will and I have got to direct. This is the first time Maryann's ever done a short. Now, she's done a ton of features, but it's the first short. So, and it's the first time our animation director, Youngren, got to be an animation director. And it's the first jobs for our other animators. So it's this wonderful time of first for all of us. So it was such kind of a blessing. And then after meeting Maryann, we've got Youngren, and then I'll kick this off to Will as far as how we found our composer, Lindsay Marcus.
Yeah, another stroke of good luck. Lindsay is a friend of mine, Lindsay Marcus, and I had just been a huge fan from some of her work in other films and TV shows. And we sent her the script and an animatic, and the first tracks that she laid down for the first compositions were right on. In fact, they were so good that Michael and I didn't even realize how perfect they were. We sort of had to walk around the block and come back to them, because we thought, did she really nail this on the first try? And she kind of did. It was weirdly talented.
It was amazing. Yeah, because I even asked her, I said, what were you thinking? Like, she's like, I just watched it and I just went to the piano and it just kind of came out. So we've had a lot of these wonderful moments of kind of like divine inspiration, where it was just kind of very pure. And it was this, and when someone turns in, their first composition, their first draft, you kind of think, all right, great, this is where we start and we're going to keep working. But this particular moment was just kind of like lightning in a bottle with her. And it was just like, and like I said, we were overwhelmed that it's like, was it that easy? Did that just go easy? Like, nothing's easy. And so it was a wonderful, wonderful gift.
Well, that's incredible that there were so many firsts on this film. And I have to say, I graduated from Cal Arts, so I love hearing all the Cal Arts-ness of this film. And And I was going to ask about the language that you use to describe like what you wanted from the music, but it sounds like she just tapped into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were looking for obviously something wistful, but also with depth, but also with a little bit of buoyancy and hope too. Like we didn't want it to feel so submerged that it couldn't connect to it. And she just found this beautiful balance, and also simple. You know, like I think the style of the film we were going. You know, obviously it's a very, very serious subject, and you know we took it seriously, but we also wanted it to be really simple and lean and minimalistic, but also be rich within that style. So it has parsimony and it has so much emotionality, and so it's really a hard balance. But Lindsay just nailed it. I'm always amazed when composers can see a piece of music, because I can watch a film and say like, oh, that music works, or that music doesn't work to me, or but to just come from that, from your loins, she's just really, really gifted. I'm always so impressed when composers can do that.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
She created a tremendous sense of drive, especially in like the memory section.
Yeah.
So it added such a wonderful balance of, you know, it made it the film a little lighter, a little more hope, because you're looking back in memory, because the film is heavy and there's a lot of heavy subject, but also there's a lot of hope and a lot of love. And I think that was expressed really well through the animation and also through the music.
I just to echo Michael too, I mean, from earlier, you know, none of this would have happened without Maryann. I mean, we had a story, but we don't know how to make a movie. And so, you know, I think also that's one of the cool things about making an independent film is like, you do get to color outside the lines. And so no, we don't really think that this movie's going to land at Netflix, right? Like we're just hoping to finish it. So within that, I think that there's like the true spirit of like independent cinema where like you just figure it out. And I think in that process of discovery, a lot of good things can happen.
And Maryann, if you wouldn't mind chiming in, where did we physically make this film?
I'm very proud where we made this film, because we call this the dining room table film, because it was literally made around Will's dining room table, Michael's dining room table, and my dining room table. So it was, you know, very special that something so beautiful came from just willpower, really.
Well, it's interesting to think about the dining room table. And for me, the film is so intimate. It almost like, it kind of makes sense that I like thinking about you all making it the way that you've just described it because of all the intimacy that comes across in the film. And Maryann, I wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about like what drew you to the script and into the project.
Well, Kia Kiadian at UTA reached out to me and said that he had some clients that just needed some pointers about animation. And then I met with Will and Michael and I read their script. And for me, I just come off of a very big budget movie. And first of all, the script just blew me away. You know, they worked on that script so hard and it was so beautiful. And, you know, also there's a cost-based element to it that attracted me to it. And then also coming off of a big budget movie, there was a part of me that wanted the challenge of working on a project that had no money, no distribution plans, nothing. And I thought like, you know, the physics of producing that is something I've never done. Because when you're at a studio, you're handed a budget, you're handed distribution, you're handed artists with nothing. And I thought, you know, besides the amazing script and just strong vision that Michael and Will had, I wanted that challenge as well.
What was the process while you were making the film that to make sure that you were balancing all of these sensitive issues? I mean, you're dealing with grief, you're dealing with the loss of a child by gun violence. There's a lot of things that you're balancing. I mean, what was that like? Were there questions that you were constantly coming back to, or was there like a North Star of sorts that was helping to make sure that you were staying on the path that you wanted to be on?
I think our North Star was kind of like trying to just show what we feel is like a representation of grief and just kind of what grief looks like. And I think grief at a lot of times can look like those little quiet moments, like the moment when when the mother finds the t-shirt. It's like, that's a quiet moment of grief that you normally people just have alone. And I think we wanted to focus in on these little moments and also how people are remembered. A lot of people are remembered. It's like, I've lost loved ones in my life. We all have. And it's like, when I hear that song that we used to be in the car together, they come flooding back and they're here right with me. And so I think it was just showing those kind of little moments. And as far as, dealing with gun violence, we became kind of friends with Everytown. We showed them an early animatic and sent them the script because we wanted to get some feedback to make sure we were being sensitive to all the survivors and honor their stories. And they loved the film. They didn't give us any notes. They said, this is a very wonderful representation. And then they even turned around and said, how can we help you? And they've been wonderful champions of the film and trying to get the film out there. And they're currently even, they had a screening during Survivor Week, which was the first week of February. And they had screenings in local chapters of like Moms Demand Action and led conversations about grief from our film. Now, we never thought it would go that far. We never thought this thing would be used to help these greater conversations. And it's just this wonderful gift that this film has given back to us.
Yeah, we spent about a year on the script. It's heavy material, so we wanted to be as scrupulous as possible. So, and then also stylistically, Stephanie, when you mentioned a North Star, I mean, Michael and Maryann and I talked a lot about, anything that doesn't need to be in a frame, we would remove it because we wanted it to like look and feel like grief, which can feel lonely and barren. And I also think that sort of minimalism excavates the emotionality of a scene. So it was able to highlight just the pure, raw emotion of a scene and just focus on the essentials. And it also ended up working in memory because I feel like implicit memory works like that. Like when you remember the past, you don't remember what was in the room, but you do remember how you felt. So once we committed to that style, it was scary as storytellers, but it was also really rewarding because it kept giving back to us and it was fun.
It was so challenging. I mean, when you say, okay, we're not going to use, there's no dialogue. Okay, we're going to put minimal things in the frame. We're going to use a minimal color palette. It's just like we're going to strip everything down. And so it's like everything had to support the story. So that was like the wonderful, as storytellers, that was the wonderful thing to do and the challenge to execute. And it was a wonderful experience. And even like, thinking of the color, like when do you see color? When you see color in memory, how do you really see the color? You see the color through the modern day lens. Those parents are sitting talking about their grief and the loss of their daughter in that bedroom. But during the memory sequence, it doesn't come back in Technicolor. It's still through the modern day lens of grief. So even the edges of the frame still have the feeling of grief as they go back to those wonderful memories. So all these things were thought out and like really discussed to make it very clean as possible.
One thing that I loved working with Will and Michael is that literally every frame from a directorial point of view is a work of art. If you stop on any frame of this short, all of the detail and the focus that they're speaking of shines through in such a strong and amazing way.
No, it's true. I mean, yeah, there's so many scenes for me. Like when the music drops out, when the mother gets the t-shirt and then the ball, like that to me was really powerful. And even the vibrancy of the flag with that then goes into the siren, that like the abstracted colors, same colors for the sirens. It's really just like beautifully done. And I wonder, I mean, I think how you're describing this, I think it resonates with so many people, what you've done. I know I've seen a couple of reaction videos that have been going around. Was that something that was totally unexpected for you, or have you watched many of those, or what's that experience been like?
Will, how did you hear about this viral thing, my friend?
Right after the movie opened on Netflix, my niece, Margaret, texted me, who's 16, and she said, "Uncle Will, your movie's trending on TikTok." And I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I don't have TikTok on my phone. And she said, "Well, you should get it." And I downloaded it. And I started to see all of these reactions from people all over the world watching the movie, and had a couple million views. And then a week later, it had 10 million, 20, 30, 40. I think we're up over 65 million now. But it was really, really, really surreal. I mean, we were astonished to watch people watch your movie in real time. I don't know that that's ever happened before. I mean, you can go to a screening at a film festival or a movie theater and kind of peer into a row, right? And watch people's faces if the light's bright enough to see them. But this is intimate firsthand reactions of people giving their visceral, guttural responses to the film. And it was overwhelming. I mean, I stayed up one night and watched dozens of them, and they're just like, they're so cool. It exceeded all of our expectations.
And it was so beautiful just to see this raw, intimate emotion being, and it's a lot of these kids. And these kids are like, they're dealing with these issues. They're dealing with this fear. Like none of us, the three of us, didn't grow up with active shooter drills. It was nothing that we participated in. It's like maybe we had a fire drills and that's it. So it's just to feel the pressure that these kids feel with these issues and how it really affects them. And a lot of them ended in such a sweet way. They would say, like, after the video ended and they're crying, they say, I'm gonna go hug my mom. I'm gonna go hug my dad. I'm gonna go tell my parents I love them. And it's just like those kind of things. You're seeing this empathy that this film is bringing out of people that is already there, but it's just giving them this moment to express. And it's just wonderful that we could be a small part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I really appreciate about your film is that it begins with distance between the parents, and then it ends with them in an embrace. So that grief is still there, but you've there is some hope in that distance isn't. And so I wonder if that's something that you had always thought that you would sort of structure the film that way. Is that sort of a message that you're hoping that audiences take away?
Stephanie, that is, first off, you're the first person who's asked us that. That is like, yes, that's what we talked about. That's what the script was about. We talked about in every scene, they're going to start this, in every scene, they're eventually going to become closer until they physically touching and hugging and holding each other. So if you watch the whole arc of the film, you saw it. That's exactly what they did. Yeah, so that's what we were intending from the beginning, but it's not going to take away that thing in the center. It's not going to bring anyone back. You still have this pain in you, but at least you can at least have each other to start to move forward and be together with that. And that was kind of the visual design.
Yeah, that was always the engine, that the daughter would be able to bring them back together, just so that they could be there for one another. Like, when there's that type of grief, you never get over that. But I think in this story, the one thing she did on that day was able to unite them, so the memory of her could bring them, so they could be with one another. They could give their presence, which is a lot.
Well, I mean, I thank you all so much for creating such a beautiful film that's so emotionally layered. I hope if anyone hasn't seen it, that they definitely check it out. And we're wishing you all the best going forward. And I can't wait to see what you each do next. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We're so proud to be part of the Palm Springs alumni, and we just wish we could have been there in person this year, but we'll just have to do another one and show up and hang out with you all.
Please do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.